Hi, everyone. Hillary Zalman, and welcome to Boca's Briefcase. Thanks to the Boca Raton Tribune, who's bringing us a fabulous guest today. It's no coincidence that I'm dressing like I'm, in St. John right now here in the fall, but it's because of our amazing guest, a highly accomplished novelist and writer, an author on the New York Times bestsellers list. With a number of series. We are so thankful to have Miss Elin Hilderbrand here with us today. Here she is. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. So as a little background, I know we do a lot of legal topics on the show, but a number of months ago, in the midst of COVID, me and a group of friends said, why don't we start a book club? And I haven't picked up, even though I have a degree in writing, I haven't picked up a book in 20 years. Just been busy with work. And a good friend said, we have to start with Elin Hilderbrand. And we started with this book, which is her Paradise series, hence the St. John's outfit. And it continues on and on. I'm sorry, Winter in Paradise. Elin didn't even correct me. Winter in Paradise. Yep. I think this is what happens next in Paradise, which I haven't read yet. I'm on this one now, number 2. And what's number 3?
Troubles in Paradise.
Trouble in Paradise. So anyway, thank you for being here so much. And we have a lot of people who are interested today. I'm going to try to jump into it. But the reason I personally wanted you to come here is once I read the first book, it brought me into reading and renewed my love of reading, escaped from the world, escaped from just the Netflix and television. I would much prefer to read your books. And I want to thank you. Your writing is savvy, it's enthralling, it's amazing. And it applies and appeals to everyone. So again, thank you for being here. You're very, very talented. We're lucky to have you. I think your sound still is off, but we'll just work with it. It goes in and out. And we talked about this before. Ellen's sound might go in and out a little bit, but that's the fun with live interviews. So I'm gonna let you get into a conversation. But she's lived in Nantucket for 27 years, mother of the three beautiful children who are not watching today because she says they are having their own lives. No, they're not watching. And a highly successful career woman. So thank you for being here. I want to go way back and from the beginning, because we have people here who are probably writers. What started you? When did you know you were a writer?
So the story goes, which is a very true story, in 2nd grade, my teacher at the end of the year gave everybody in my class an award, and I won the top author award. And as soon as my teacher said it, I thought, yes, I am an author. And my parents really thought I loved to read. My parents fostered my love of writing, and I went to writing camp in high school. And then when it came time to go to college, I attended the Johns Hopkins University, which everyone knows because it's a famous medical school, famous for engineering. I went as a creative writing major, and the joke was, which also is very true, was that my job was to save the bar seats because my classes were so much easier than everybody else's. So I would get to the bar first and save everybody's seats. And when I graduated from Hopkins, I went to my professor and I said, I want to be a writer. What should I do? Should I get a job? Should I go to graduate school? And he said, Ellen, you have to go out in the world and live. And so I moved to New York City, got a job in publishing that I hated. And then I got a better job teaching English, and I taught at IS 227 in the New York City public schools for 1 year, and then I sort of took a better job and went up to Westchester County and taught for a year there. I had the summer between the 2 school years off, and I went to Nantucket. My family had summered on Cape Cod. I had loved it, and I wanted to get back, so I rented a room in a house for the summer and fell madly in love with the island and decided that I was going to go back and teach. And then after the school year was over, I was going to move permanently to Nantucket. And that was in 1994. And I've been here ever since. I had all 3 of my children on Nantucket.
Were you able to write?
Oh, go ahead.
While you were working, you had a career, you're teaching and you work in publishing. Were you ever able to write on the side, or your brain closed off to that for a while?
I was writing on the side. So like when I lived in New York City, I went to the 92nd Street Y. They had writers workshops, and you had to apply to get into them, and I would apply, go to the writers work. I'd do that like on a Thursday night, like every Thursday for 12 weeks, we'd meet. And I was always like submitting to like literary magazines, and I got some things published, lots of things rejected. Once I moved to Nantucket, I applied to the writers workshop at the University of Iowa, which is like a very big deal graduate program. And I was admitted to Iowa, and I get to Iowa, and this was in the fall of 1996. And I hated it. I was miserable. The university had free counseling. I used to go every week and like cry and complain. I missed Nantucket. I was stuck in like the cornfields and with the silos and the pig farms. And I was a literal fish out of water, miserable. And my therapist suggested that I start writing a novel or a piece about Nantucket. So that is where I started writing my first book, The Beach Club, which was set on Nantucket. And that was sort of what set me on my way. In my very last workshop at Iowa, I literally like had my U-Haul packed, ready to go back east. My professor invited his agent to come to the class. And the agent said, "Which one of you lives on Nantucket?" And I said, "Oh, that's me." And he said, "Please stay and see me after class." And I didn't even want, I wanted to go, but thank God I did. I met with him, and he has been my agent for 20 years. And he took me on as a student, like a newly graduated student at the University of Iowa. And I'm happy to say that Troubles in Paradise, which was our 26th book together, will on Sunday be #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. So he has been with me all the way, like from start to finish. So that is how I got started.
Yeah, and I'm gonna nitpick there, because for people again who are writers, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who dream to do what you're doing. I caught that first, you were studying writing, and then you applied or sent work into literary magazines. It's sort of a first step, and it was rejected and some were accepted. Yeah. So do you still feel that's a good step for authors or new authors or aspiring authors?
That was the way the world worked then, when you were literally like putting things in envelopes and sending them off. I think that, there was at that time a market for short stories. Like at that time, like Esquire was publishing stories. The New Yorker was publishing stories. The New Yorker still publishes stories, but right. The world is so different that my advice would be write a novel, because short stories really do not sell. Start a novel, finish a novel, and when you are finished with it, then you would send a query, which would be a letter, send it out to literary agents. You should have an agent. That is the way to go. That is the correct way to go. And so that would be my advice, would be query an agent. You get an agent. A lot of them have law degrees. Mine most certainly does. He went to Yale. And then they get you your publisher and get you set up with a publishing house. And then the publishing house takes care of the sales and the marketing and publicity.
Oh, I love all this. And let me get into the creative aspect. You say write a novel, and every author does this in their own manner, in their own way. When you write a novel, do you already know the end? And you write a series as well. So you do series. So when you're at each novel, do you have an outline? Do you have an end game of where it's going? Or do you start free writing? What's your creative process in your novel writing?
So when I start a novel, I'm very organic. So I do not have it plotted out. I did an event 2 weeks ago with Nicholas Sparks, and he works the opposite. He plots everything out, and like down to like, he knows that on page 50, he has to have his first reveal. I don't work that way. So I start just with the characters and sort of dive in and write a scene. And it's a lot of going back and revising. But I didn't even plot out. So I've written 2 series. One is the Paradise series that we're talking about today. And then I wrote a holiday series that ended up going 4 books. And I didn't plot those out either. I had a vague idea of where I wanted them to end up, but it was very organic. When I'm in the novel, things occur to me and I I go with it.
Right. And Gretchen, who's already read your third book, she commented to me before, and and her mom, Becky Smith, it's her birthday. So I know you were going to give a shout out. Yes, she lives near you in Pennsylvania. So Becky, Elin definitely sent you birthday love today. But she pointed out, she's ahead of me. She's read your third one, and she said what was very neat is that you're tying the third book of the Paradise series into, I think, the Winter series, bringing the series together, like the Avengers.
Yeah. I mean, I did that for my fans. So one of the characteristics like of my later books is that characters from other books will appear in a way that if you've read my other work, you will be so excited. But if you haven't read my other work, it's like no big deal. So it's fun. It's like a cameo appearance. Like if you knew the actor, you'd get excited. If you don't know the actor, it's no big deal. And so there is a character from my holiday series who shows up at the end of the Paradise series. And I had long decided almost from book one that was going to happen, because I just thought it was such a fun way to sort of bring them together and to like give like a little hug to my longtime readers.
And I think you accomplished that. It's very, very neat. It's I think back at the shows in the 90s, like it's having someone from Melrose Place visit 90210, or it's just neat, right? That ages me, but I'm trying to fit in so much. By the way, if anyone has questions, you can post them right here. I know a lot of people watch this not live, so you'll miss your opportunity. But I want to try to get everything in because Elin is working on a book today. She's under deadline, so this is a pause break for her. We were very lucky to get her in. So, oh my God, it's right there. Let's just take it. Let me talk to you, because we mentioned in the beginning just the simplicity of a book club. What do you think about book clubs? I know a lot of people enjoy your novel in them. Do you try to promote specifically to book clubs or reach out in any way, or is that something you don't focus on in terms of promotion? Now I'm getting into promotion.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've done, I have been in this business for 20 years. So I've seen it change. I also started, I want to clarify when I say that my agent, Michael, took me from a writing student to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. That was over a span of 20 years. I did not write Where the Crawdads Sing. I was not an overnight success. It was year after year, summer after summer, book after book of building a readership, and so that the readers know that they could trust me. So it took a long time. So I have literally done everything in this business. I have visited actual book groups. I have called into book groups. I have done virtual, since pandemic, I've done virtual events. I've done book festivals. I've done straight signings. I've done events. I've gone across the country. I have done every kind of event that is available to any writer. I have done it. And what is new since the pandemic is I've been trying to hit like bigger groups. So I was telling you earlier, like I have a Peloton bike, which I ride every day. And I found out there is a Peloton moms book group that has 10,000 people in it. And I'm like, I'm going to join the Peloton moms group. I'm so excited. So I did an event with the Peloton moms book group that had 600 people. So, I mean, that is like that's like a great marketing thing for me. Right. My son is a junior at the University of South Carolina. So there's like a Facebook page for the moms of the South Carolina students. And I did a book group for them on Monday. And again, we had like 450 people plus it's on demand. So those are like trying to think outside the box. Like if I'm not going to be able to travel to bookstores, how can I reach readers during the pandemic? And so that is one of the things that I came up with.
Right. And we were speaking to Elin before. She said, sometimes at any given time, she maybe go to 16 events. And this summer, she still chose to go out. She just felt like she had to do it. And you reached, I think, 6 live events, which was obviously a lot less. But you still did it.
Yeah, so, I was one of the only authors that went on the road. So I did 2 events in Delaware, 1 in New Jersey. I flew to San Diego and did an event in La Jolla. which now that I'm looking back on it was like completely crazy town. I can't believe I did that. But we were, we wore masks. We were socially distanced. Those, in the summer, the events could be held outside and it was totally perfect. I mean, nobody got sick. I felt completely safe. The bookstores were so grateful because, you're selling 200 or 300 books in a short time period. And for them, I mean, it was like make it or break it on the summer. And so I was thrilled to be able to go out and support the independents.
Right. I got a question texted to me about going back to your creative process again. And I remember reading this, I think it was maybe in your introduction of your first book, how you went, I think you got to spend time for the Paradise series. You actually went to St. John and wrote there for a few weeks at a time, which I was extremely jealous that you would get to go to an island and write there from Nantucket to there. Is that still part of your process, or do you mostly write at home, or do you need to escape sometime and write somewhere outside of your home? What about location?
So the way that the Paradise series came to be is that in 2012, I was decided that I needed a writing retreat. So there's a bunch of ways that you can take a writing retreat. Like there are things that you can apply for, Yaddo, the McDowell. And I decided I didn't want to take anybody else's money because I was supporting myself as a writer. So I thought, I can do my own writer's retreat. So in 2012, I went down to the Virgin Islands for 5 weeks. And all I did was write. And it is so much better for me as a working mom to be out of the house. My kids were with their dad. I went by myself. I got so much done that I've done it every year since 2012. So I've been there, I think nine times to St. John. I go for 5 weeks. I rent a simple villa and just work. And I enjoy obviously being in the islands, and I've made friends and I go out. I mean, not this past year.
Did you schedule yourself? Did you say I have to wake up at this time, or did you just allow yourself to write when you write, or were you working on like a certain number of hours schedule?
Yeah. So I'm very disciplined just in general, like freakishly disciplined. So I did have a schedule, and my days are always for writing. Like I never go to lunch with anybody ever. I save my days for writing. And then at night, especially in the islands, like I'm free. And, once I made friends, I was out, for 4 nights a week, enjoying the island. And that led me to really fall in love with the place. And then once I was in love with it, I asked my publisher if I could write a series that was set there. And they said yes.
That's amazing. That's really neat. And going back to the New York Times for a moment, and you went, I think, through this process. I mean, it takes a long time, but what is the actual, once you're an accomplished writer like yourself, what is the process for getting a book, seen by them, heard by them, picked up by them? Is it just, it's the numbers? It's, because everybody's dream is to get on there. So what is that process toward the end? Once you've really got the reader base, is it having that fan base? It's building that up over years? Right.
So the first year I hit the printed list, I think was my 7th book. It is numbers. This is how you do it. I mean, it's so difficult. So, your publisher, the ways that you market yourself and publicize yourself. So the ways you do it is, your publisher buys co-op space at the front of Barnes & Noble. So those tables, when you walk into Barnes & Noble, that month, those books are there because their publishers paid for them. The end caps at Target, like you're walking down Target and you see an end cap and it's all Elin Hilderbrand. That is something that my publisher pays for. And then once you establish a selling record, then, Walmart makes you the book of the month, their book of the month, or you get picked up by the Book of the Month Club, or, in 2014, I started going on CBS This Morning with Gayle King, and I've done that every year since. And so these are the ways that you gain new readers. And I travel, so I do 16 events per book, and I've had 2 books a year. So I was on the road between 32 and 40 days a year, meeting people. And it's kind of like that old Fabergé commercial, like they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on.
It's a grassroots approach. It's like running for president, being out there, right? And
New York Times is only numbers. I mean, It is
No.
people who a certain number of stores report to them, and it's like Barnes and Noble and, you know, Independence. But the stores that report their numbers, and then they have an algorithm and they come up with the list.
And it makes sense too. And I mean, I want to sit here and promote you too. It makes sense after you read the book, because it really, again, it appeals to everyone. It's just such, each book is such a great read, and it takes real talent to just make such a smooth transition. You know, I'm not questioning the characters. You're just in. Once you're in the book, you're in, and it's great. I mean, if you're looking for an escape or something to enjoy, I highly recommend the novels. I can't wait to continue them. We have a question here from Randy. Would you ever consider taking your stories to Netflix? It's a good one.
So, yeah. So my experience with Hollywood has been challenging. I have 26 novels. I have 6 projects in development. ABC has picked up the Paradise series with Elin Pompeo producing. But it's at this point, it's a waiting game just to see when, you know, everything is backed up and because of COVID. And I have other, like my novel 28 Summers has been optioned for the movies, and the writer is doing the script right now. You know, hopefully things will move forward. Hollywood is so tricky because deals get made all the time, things get optioned all the time, scripts get written all the time, and then to get it actually made is like 15 steps with everything working perfectly. So
I want to ask you your opinion.
All I can say.
No, so I actually used to work at Focus Features, and I was an attorney in California too, and working there. And one of the issues faced with this, and I'm not sure if this is something you're dealing with, if they take your book beyond an option or perhaps buy the rights and decide not to ever produce it, ever film it, would you be devastated? Because then you don't have the right to sell it to anyone else.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I sold a book 2 years ago. I went to Hollywood and I met with everybody. And Hulu ended up buying 3 of my novels. They then wrote it. We had a script. Everything was good. And then they ended up passing. But because of the way the contract is written, I was able to get the books back. So one of the books that they bought is now at a different network, and hopefully will be a go. So most of my rights will revert to me after a certain period of time, and they will not be sitting forever.
I would bring law into everything. Well, another thing to consider is, would you feel the need to have any creative control? I'm not even sure that they would be offering this in contracts, but would you like to have creative control in making the script or even in the production? Or would you be mad if they like completely switch the characters, or would you just not care?
Well, I mean, I'm actually on every contract that I've signed, I'm the executive producer. So the most important thing to me, and I need to be very clear about this with you, but with them, is I do not want them to ruin either Nantucket or St. John. That's like my main concern. The characters, the story, I don't write television. I don't write for the movies. I'm not going to do any of the writing. They can do with that to maximize drama and viewership. That's all good. They can change whatever they want. I'm really going to be there to make sure that the 2 places that I love the most are represented genuinely, authentically, correctly, so that no one is mad at me for ruining them. So that is my goal.
That's really nice. And you wrote a little about that with St. John. You talked about what happened with the hurricane, the post-hurricane, and just sort of your love of trying to show the story pre-hurricane. So it was very evident that you care for the people in the location. We got another question. Gretchen, will you start a series set in Europe, Paris, and Saint Tropez, perhaps? And she sends hearts.
You know what? Never say never. It is a part of my novel, Summers, that is set in Paris. It's most likely that it will be like a scene in a book. Like I have a scene in Paris from 28 Summers from this past summer. And I just feel like that, you know, I'm going to stick with the places that I know for now.
And usually, and I can't believe 30 minutes has flown by. I'm sure there's more questions, but this show's called Boca's Briefcase, and I want to sort of go toward the ending and have you pull out of your own briefcase, what piece of knowledge would you offer out there to readers, to writers, to anyone based on your over 20 years experience? I think one of the segues into that could be write about what you know. Is that something that you think is good or that helped make you successful?
Well, I think the most important thing, honestly, is the discipline. So like what I'm doing is, it's kind of unusual. I mean, I'm writing 2 books a year by myself. I don't have an assistant because I want everything to be exactly the way I'd like to have it presented. And it requires an enormous amount of discipline. And, I'm not like a get up at 4 a.m. and write. I'm pretty fluid with, but I don't waste my time. And that is like the number one rule is I do not waste my time. I'm absolutely fanatical about keeping my writing time sacred and getting it done because I'm on these ridiculous deadlines and I don't my friends call and they're like, can you go for a walk? Can you do this? And, they know by now I'm going to say no. They like to ask me, but I just don't, I just very disciplined. And for anybody who's thinking of writing a novel, that is my best advice. Get it done.
And I think that applies in every career. It's the same with me. I mean, like you said, I can't do lunches that people ask all the time. I said, no, I can't do it. I mean, I'm working like the same thing. So obviously, you're beyond successful. You're very well accomplished. And we just need more people like you in all stages of business, more women like you. What are you working on now? Do you want to give us any sneak peeks or tell us anything?
Yeah, so I'm writing a novel called Golden Girl, and it will be out June 1st. And it is due at Halloween. So I am like under the gun here, 10 days.
That's exciting.
And these are the
Well, and I'll throw this at you too. I forgot to mention earlier, I still like paper, so I buy the books, but I'll tell you, I've seen the transition just in the own book club or with friends. A lot of people are reading electronically. So we saw about 50-50. Do you still like paper, or are you on the computer? Are you on a typewriter? What are you doing?
I read all the time. So I'm reading John Grisham's A Time for Mercy. And I'm doing an event with John on Wednesday. It's free if anybody wants to join me with Browse About Books. But I read actual books.
So awesome. How can we find you? People who want to follow you, they want to see what you're doing, what you're writing, when your books are coming out, when the John Grisham thing is, where can we find this information?
Okay, so if you go to my Instagram, I'm at Elin Hilderbrand. I put a little comment here. My Instagram is like my 4th child. I take such good care of it. And I also have a professional Facebook page that has all of my events, all of my appearances. It's, I think, just Elin Hilderbrand, and it'll say author. I'm on Twitter, but I think the best, honestly, if you just want to enjoy the Elin Hilderbrand, brand and the lifestyle and what I'm cooking. I have a cooking show that's on my Instagram. You'll see pictures of my kids. I have book recommendations that I give other people, and it lists all of my, I talk about all of my events.
Well, excellent. And we could honestly occupy your time all day, but we are not going to let you break from schedule. This is it. Follow Elin at elinhilderbrand.com. A shout out to your 3 children, having a super successful mom. And yes, I wonder if any of them are going to be writers one day, but I encourage everyone to follow Elin. Thank you kindly. And maybe for those follow-up questions on your new series, your new books, we might just have to have you on next year. So we will stay in touch. And stay safe and keep writing. Keep writing, please. Thank you. Bye-bye. We'll see.
Okay.
Thank you to the Boca Raton Tribune for hosting Miss Hilderbrand. We're very thankful for them creating this platform, and we will see you all next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Bye, everyone.